Hello class, today we're going to be talking about some of the causes of Pearl Harbor. That was the attack on the U.S. naval base by the Japanese. Now this is one of the major causes that got the U.S. into the war, so it's important to see why it happened. First, you have to understand that at the time, Japan had some very high interest in China. And at this point, they had actually taken over a portion of the country. They called it Manchukuo, and it was occupied by Japanese forces. Now, the Japanese had been fighting off the Chinese for a good time now, and their forces were relatively weak. Of course, they didn't tell the people that. In order to keep support for their war efforts, they told people that they were winning Manchukuo easily, even though that their economy and their military forces were being taxed to the extreme. The US had its own interests in China at the time, and so they were not happy with Japan being in the country. Japan saw this as a threat to their control there and decided to take matters in their own hands. They feared the US would intervene in their occupation of China and they would be on the run given their military stresses. The problem is the US had no intentions of actually going to war with Japan at the time, especially with the World War II going on. They didn't want to be involved in any conflicts. But Japan decided that a surprise attack was their only option and decided to go for broke against the US and China at the same time. This started their surprise attack, which afterwards they labeled they introduced a declaration of war. The problem with this is the U.S. never had any intention of going to war with Japan, and the Japanese started a war for pretty much no reason in the end and just taxed their military forces to the max, ultimately destroying their own economy and bringing in another ally into the forces of World War II. Now, if you need to learn any more of this, feel free to pause the video or rewind whenever you need. You can bring a couple of questions to class tomorrow and we can talk about this.